You're listening to the Clean Comedy Podcast with your host, James Creviston.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast. It's James, and today I have one of my favorite people in the world. Honestly, when I moved to LA, I started doing stand-up. I would go to shows. He was there. Hilarious guy. You'll know him from College Hill. You'll see if you've ever watched TV and watched any commercial, he's probably in that commercial. He's in every commercial I've ever seen in my life. I go to the movies pretty often, and there's always the Verizon commercial now. And I go, hey, there's Willie, right? So please welcome Willie Macc.
Verizon all day. Go.
Every time I'm like, the first time I saw it, they did the shortened version where it's only you with the family for like a few seconds, and then it cuts to like the all white family, which is also weird to me, by the way. Just so you know. Yeah. So they show you say one line, it cuts to the white family, they have like 3 minutes, and then like the commercial's over. And but then later on they started doing the bigger shots of like you with the family or whatever, and you talking or whatever. And I was like, Willie, what's Willie doing there? This is crazy. Yeah. So yeah,
that was a nice. It was a long shoot day. Anytime you shoot with kids, because commercials is all about consistency, and so if you walk to your right and then use your right hand to pick up a phone, you have to do that every take for the rest of the day. Kids are like, using right hand, we're gonna use the left. It's like, oh, we gotta do it again. This time, pick it up with your right hand. So they'll just pick it up like, oh, you picked it up like this, like to tell 3 kids who are all under the age of 10 how to pick up a phone and do that for 14 hours for the day. It was a long day, but it was a good time though, man. I'm glad to have been a part of that. That was fun.
I know. I feel like you're the king of commercials. Like anytime I watch a commercial, if you're in it, I'll watch the commercial longer. Like normally I skip commercials. If I see your face, I go, I want to see what this is about. What's Willie selling me today?
Nice. I got 2 more that's going to be coming out in the next few months. I have a Bank of America that's coming out, and I'm doing one of those progressives where it's like you're going to be becoming your parents. You know, those, don't be like your parents. So I'm going to be in one of those. I shot that last month. So
that's awesome. You're a busy guy, and I know that a lot of your career got started on BET, which, by the way, was one of my favorite. It's more Tyler Perry shows now for some reason that seem to be on there.
Yeah, he completely has taken over that entire.
Because I just wanted to watch old school rap videos, which is like what 106 & Park used to be, and they don't do that anymore. Like you get like maybe an hour of that, and I'm like, what is going on here, guys? I want to watch. This is where I come to get my fill, because MTV doesn't even show music videos anymore. You know.
Do you remember BET Uncut? Did you watch? Did you stay up to watch that?
Oh yeah.
There was a time where it was like, for those that don't know, there was a time where if you want to see just even a little bit of butt in a music video, you have to wait till like midnight and watch BET Uncut. It was almost as if BET was like, listen, this ain't really what we show, but this is what you see. And it's after midnight. So if you watching TV after midnight, you up for debauchery anyway. So here you go.
Yeah, it was all the music videos with like all the women in it and all the stuff, and you're like, dang, that's what this video is supposed to be? Like the thong song had a lot less thongs in this video now. Like, what's going on?
And you know what's so crazy now? When like looking back at some of these music videos, they weren't like the music videos that's going on today is so much more crazy than like I was looking at it was Juvenile's Back That Thing Up, whatever. And I'm like, imagine that song today and what the women would be wearing. Like they would wear jeans and just like halter tops in Juvenile's video, and that was like kind of risky. So time to change.
I know that's the thing is I always think about that. I think about how good actually the songs were back then. I don't like as much rap music now. It doesn't feel as cultural. Like now it's just we're gonna rap about drugs and ladies and money, and that's it. It's like, well, that's not culture, man. You're just regurgitating the same stuff, and that's not okay. Like when you listen to like NWA or you go and listen to old Tupac, there is a culture there. They're telling you stories. You're learning something, and it's more than just guns or whatever. Like they're telling you stuff about their life, and that doesn't happen anymore.
So were you Biggie or Tupac?
Here's the truth. I loved both. I grew up in Texas, so I listened to both, and I had no skin in the game, so I could be like, well, I like both. I mean, but I bought probably more Tupac albums than I bought Biggie albums, to be fair.
Okay.
I mean, I did buy like, Ready to Die. I did buy the double album. I bought Machiavelli on the day it came out. So yeah, no, but I love Tupac, and also when I moved to Las Vegas when I was in high school, Tupac was shot in Vegas, and so it happened while I was in high school in Vegas. That happened, and I remember everyone being sad when it happened, and I was like, "Oh man, we lost Tupac! Like, how does this happen?" And at first, I thought it was like a scam. Like, you know how like rumors spread, people were like Tupac died. I'm like, sure, he died. Okay, it's Tupac. Like, he's not gonna die, And they're like, no, he's dead. And I'm like, oh man. But then now that Tupac's the Elvis of rap, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are like, nah, Tupac's still alive, and you're like, I hope so. Can we get another album, please?
That's funny. I like Biggie because I'm a storyteller, even in my stand-up. Like, I like telling stories, and Biggie was a storyteller. He would paint these vivid pictures, and I was like, oh, the details.
Yeah.
And so I lean towards him for that reason. I remember being I grew up a preacher's kid.
Right.
So I wasn't introduced to rap or like even secular music for real until maybe middle school. And I think the first rap album and song that I've ever listened to was like 3-6 Mafia.
Like, oh wow.
That's waking. That's not. I went straight deep dive. That's like somebody's like, man, you know what? I haven't done drugs my entire life. You know what? I feel like doing crack. It's like start off with
that was about to say you jumped like in the deep end. There was like no someone to like, oh, maybe I should warm them up with with some Boys to Men, like like we got to get you a some Motown Philly, like let's start there and then we can just kind of ease you into. No, I was like, yeah, something Mark, maybe even some Marky Mark. We'll start you with the white rap first, and then we'll move you. He just went, I'm going underground right there, 3-6 Mafia, dude.
And I haven't listened to church music since. No, I'm joking. I still do. It's funny because when I'm having long days, I settle myself with like gospel music. But then obviously there's the whole hip hop thing. And now my son, like I was telling you earlier, like my son's moving in with me today, and he's a SoundCloud rapper, man.
Oh. Does he tell everybody that?
Yes, I'm gonna see if you can hear this song that he just sent me. Now, I'm trying not to listen to this with my old ears. I am now at that age and at that point in music where we're like, that ain't. What do you mean this is music? Like that's not music. Like I was telling my son, I was like, man, do you even have a love mix? Like I used to make a CD, and on that CD had like Jodeci, it had Earth, Fire. I had Sarah Smile on there by Hall & Oates. Like, I'm like, who will be on yours? He was like, well, Juice WRLD has this song. I was like, you're done. You're done.
First of all, your first track is always a Barry White track. You want the ladies to know where it's about to go. So you start with the deep love, and then you work your way. You put some Keith Sweat in there. You go, man. Like, no. These kids don't know. They don't
know. His beats are good.
Okay.
But
what about his lyrics?
That's not the song. There we go. Okay. Can you hear this?
Hey, Josh, you crazy.
So the beat comes in. It's not bad. Hold on.
No.
Yeah. You hear that mumbling?
Yeah. Is it supposed to mumble?
That's him rapping.
Really?
I said, Malcolm, you sound like you're being waterboarded and forced to rap. He was like, Dad, it's not for you. I'm like, I don't think it's for any. I'm like, I'm trying not to say that because I don't want to. Like when I told my dad I was doing stand up, he's like, boy, get a regular job and blah 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 blah. But I'm like, but Dad, I'm good. He's like, no, you're not. Just focus. I wasn't mad at him for saying that because we're from the Midwest, preacher kid, so we grew up, you go to high school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get married, you get a job, you retire. Like that's their life. Everybody that's in the Midwest is kind of living something very similar to that. So when I'm like, I'm gonna go out here and tell jokes, it's like, what? You can't just sit there and tell jokes. And then that turned into commercials, and now I'm doing traveling, telling jokes. And now it's like, oh, knew you had it in you. Like, yeah, did you?
So you grew up a preacher's son. I'm assuming Kirk Franklin and that kind of stuff was your music style that you got mostly exposed to, would be my guess, right?
Yes. Kirk Franklin. Even Kirk Franklin was on the edgier side of just like the Christian stuff.
He can be. That's true. Because I grew up in Texas, I went to a lot of Southern Baptist church, so I am very familiar with that, and I understand. So for me, I get it. But I also grew up listening to like Rich Mullins and the Ragamuffin Band and that kind of stuff. Like I was very put into like that Christian music world. Amy Grant was big at the time, like all that kind of stuff. So I have that stuff, and that must have been a shock. First of all, moving from Texas to Las Vegas was a huge shock. So moving from what part of the Midwest were you in?
St. Louis.
Okay, yeah. So moving from St. Louis to LA, that's a shock.
Huge. It was so scary. I came out here, actually, I didn't come out here to be in the entertainment industry fully. I came out here chasing a female. There was a girl that I was in love with so much. Her name was Keita. And I was like, she was like, hey, I'm tired of St. Louis. I'm going to move to Los Angeles to pursue modeling. Because she modeled in St. Louis. She did all the runway shows, anytime there was a photographer there. So she's like, I'm taking this to LA. She comes to LA and she finds out that LA modeling and St. Louis modeling are two different models. You know how I think Paul has a joke where like you've heard like he was like, in the Midwest I'm a 10.
Yeah.
In LA, blah 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 blah. And she found out, and when she was like, I'm moving out there, I was like, well then I'm gonna come with you. And then I came out here and I needed money. So I started doing background work like, everybody does when they starting off in this little game. And so I did background work on the Bernie Mac show. One day, I was supposed to work one day on the Bernie Mac show, and it ended up being like 5-6 days. And maybe around day 3, because Bernie Mac was sick at this time. Oh. And so that's why it went from one day to like 5-6, because he was like hooked up to like an oxygen machine. And like he was getting IVs put in him, like he was just tired. And so one day I was talking to Kalita Smith that played his wife on the Bernie Mac show, because I used to have this really big fro. Like my fro used to be like this, literally.
Yeah. That's how I met you back in the
Yeah. And so Kalita was like, "Where are you from? You look real country." And I was like, "Oh." I'm from St. Louis. She was like, "Oh, my assistant's from St. Louis." So she calls her assistant over. And we're talking, find out we went to the same high schools and all that. And as we're talking, Bernie Mac comes out and he's like, "Hey, who's this melted milk dud y'all talking?" I was like, "What? Who, me?" And then as an extra and him being the star of the show, for him to interact with me, because he was one of the coolest people that I ever met on those next couple of days, man. And I remember one time walking by his trailer just to say thank you. I didn't know you're not supposed to talk to these people. I didn't know nothing. Green. So I'm going by just to be like, "Man, thank you for being so cool." And they hurried up and shut the door, but I looked in his trailer when they was doing it, and that's when I saw them all hooked up to the IV and the oxygen machine and all this other stuff. And I was like, dang, he's like, his health is like not in good condition. And so in ode to Bernie Mac, I changed my name to Willie Macc. That's how I got Willie Macc as my stage name in ode to Bernie Mac, and I threw in an extra C for just to be cool or whatever. But yeah,
that's man, I wish I could have met Bernie. That's such an awesome story. Like he's a legend. I still watch the Bernie Mac show. They have it on. I watch it. I love that show. It's so good because he reminds me of some of my friends' unks that you would like say stuff to you back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like slap you in the back of the head and give you some advice. Not always good advice, but some advice, and then send you on your way. Like that boy's a little slow. Then smack. You need to get on out of here. Like and then you leave, and you're like, I wonder what he meant by that. I wonder if I need to be doing. Should I do something else? Like, what am I? What's he saying? You know, like you try to figure it out. You feel like he gave you bad advice, but then you realize they give you good advice, and you know, you're like, all right, I'm gonna figure things out. I'm gonna get my life right at some point.
And I just like his authenticity, and that's something that even I try to bring on stage, just a little bit. Like I try to model myself as like the millennial Bernie Mac. They like that's what I'm like. He talked about having his kids and his nieces and nephews or whatever. I talk about my son and his sister, and I try to keep in enough authenticity in these stories. But you gotta also be careful because it's also not the '90s and the early 2000s anymore, and you gotta be extra careful. My daughter is a lesbian, and she dates a trans woman, born a male and now a female, but did not have the actual sex change part. And so I started to talk about it on stage. And as a father, I just wanted more information because this ain't the joke, but this is where the joke, the backstory of the joke, because I was teasing my son, like, Malcolm, you out here having sex, man. He's like, Dad, you know I'm having sex. And Michaela was like, yeah, I'm having sex too. I was like, Michaela, you're not having sex. Don't you have a girlfriend? And this, I didn't know that she was trans. All she said was, Dad, I got a girlfriend. And I've just known that. And so I'm like, what are you doing, Michaela? Scissoring really hard? You can't have sex, blah, 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 blah. And so she's like, no, Dad, I did. And I was like, what? And Malcolm's like, Dad, you didn't know that Michaela's girlfriend was born a man. And I just kind of did one of these moves. And I was like, because my brain, one comedy brain is like, now I got to talk about this.
Right.
I got to talk about how my daughter had a pregnancy scare by her girlfriend. Right. Like, do you know how not crazy, but crazy it is to say something just, like that?
Yeah.
So now we can't really talk about that because it might upset or it might offend. And you got to find that level of either saying, F it, I'm going to talk about this, and y'all just gonna have to deal with it, or because my approach on why I don't talk about it is because I do so many commercials. Right. If I do talk about this now, my income from the commercial world will go away. HGTV to even be on HGTV, they did a background check. They went through my Facebook, they went through my Twitter, they went through my Instagram, TikTok, they went through my MySpace. They went through MySpace, and they looked at every post that I ever posted, and they were like, you gotta take this down. And there was like a month of negotiations on what post I can take down. They was like, you got to take down talking about that you have a lesbian baby mama. I'm like, but I have a lesbian baby mama. They're like, that might offend some of the viewers. I'm like, I have a lesbian baby mama. That's not making up a story. And they're like, fine, well, you're going to have to take these two down. So we was like, yeah, that's where we're at.
Wow. It's so funny because it seems like the world is more progressive, but then like, and especially TV or shows, but then you talk about HGTV doing that. I mean, when you did BET, when you did College Hill, did they go through any of that stuff with you? Did they make you go do any kind of that stuff like that?
We didn't even have that stuff. I think the most we had then, I think MySpace, I think it was only MySpace at that point. It wasn't
Was HGTV mad that they weren't in your top 10 friends? Is that what happened or whatever? They're like, we're not in the top. I don't know what you're doing here, but you need to add us in the top, okay? It's not cool.
They canceled our show. I defriended them.
They got demoted. They're not even in there.
Not just unfriended. I blocked them.
Oh, dang.
No, I didn't block them, but I do plan on talking about it. And then, because I want to talk about just the industry in general, and I wanted to talk about the fact that I lost my show because it was too urban. And then I was telling my agent my bits that I wanted to do. She's like, you can't talk about this. I was like, what? Why? She's like, HGTV is under the Discovery family, and you'll never for another Discovery project. If you want to pitch a Food Network show or whatever, blah, 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 you're not going to be able to do it because you badmouth one of their siblings, in a sense, sibling stations. So it's like, man, I can't even talk about how I feel. Now, if I wanted to be a straight comic, like you see like an Andrew Schultz or like some of these other people that's like, I'm pure comic. And if y'all don't like it, fine. And they, they bring it, they do very well.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so as a comedian, it depends on the type of business that you want to be in as well. And we're not taught the business of comedy. We just know, I just want to tell jokes. I just want to be goofy. And then when you find out there's a business aspect to it, like I was up for a gig. I collectively on TikTok, I have like 420,000 followers. On Facebook, Instagram, I have like 50,000 followers. Now, I was offered by Monster.com. My agent reached out to me. She was trying to do the math. She's like, Monster.com is interested in you. $200,000 they want to give you. But you need to have at least 500,000 followers minimum. And I was at 475. Oh. I'm like, I'm only 25,000 away. They was like, sorry. Oh, and I'm like, God. The power of social media. And we talk about this when we see some of these social media comedians. It's like, y'all funny online, but then you come to a comedy club and y'all are bombing, but y'all are selling out, so y'all are staying booked. Yep. And I was up for a role, and they was like, all right, you were perfect, Willie. We loved you. Let's look at your numbers. I'm like, everything's a numbers game now.
Yeah. That's terrible. Here's the thing. I'm never going to get anything. I don't build social media. That's not what I do. I'm not good at that. I don't try to do that. The podcast, I write stuff. I make money that way. I do stand up. I make money that way. I'm going to Texas with Darren Carter. Like, I could care less. Like, look, if they come to me and go, hey, you need your numbers up. I'm like, listen, either you like me or you don't. That's how it's going to be. I'm not going to play this game, because how I grew up, that's how it works. Like, you like me and we want to do business, let's do business. You don't like me and you want to play some game with numbers and whatever, okay, that's on you then. You just lost out. You know? I'm gonna be cold. That's how I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think what it is for me, I want more than, I want to take kind of that Kevin Hart path. You either go Kevin Hart, you go Dave Chappelle, you go George Carlin, you go Seinfeld. Like, there's so many interesting paths. Like, for you, what's the ultimate? Like, do you have comedy? Like, would you want your own TV series and movie? Would you want to do movies?
Yeah, I want to do more Judd Apatow style, where like I'm making stuff with all my friends. Like, I can make movies and shows and stuff. Like, I have a script that I wrote that's for like me and Paul Moonjean and Dave Studebaker, and like I have a script that's written for like a few of us and the Verzies being a group in there. Like, I wrote scripts with my friends in mind. Like, hey, I want to make movies with my friends. Like, that's what I want to do. I want the Judd Apatow route. And then when I'm older, I can go back and do stand-up like Judd Apatow did, and people are going to come back and see me because my name's been all over stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, like, because I grew up watching when movies were when Blockbuster was a thing, and I would stay home on Fridays because I was a nerd and no one to hang out with me. I would watch Kevin Smith movies and Quentin Tarantino movies and all that stuff, and those kind of indie films, and realize I can make this stuff with my friends and then make something of it. And that's my goal,
Yeah.
So that's me. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be a Seinfeld. I'm probably never going to be I know I'm never going to be a Carlin. I'm not that smart. But I'm just not. But I can be that mid-level comedian that like, oh, that guy, I know that guy from X, Y, and Z, or I've seen his name somewhere or whatever. Like, if Jordan Peele went and started doing stand-up right now, even if he didn't do stand-up, because we know he does sketch, we know he does improv, we know he can write, we know he can direct. If he goes and does stand-up right now, which I don't think he's ever done stand-up as far as I know, but if he did, he would sell out. Everyone would go, right. And he may not even be as funny as we know from like Key and Peele or whatever, but I guarantee, he probably will. Let's not lie to ourselves. He probably will murder. But still, you're going to go see him because it's Jordan Peele, and you're like, this is amazing. And so, yeah.
Key and Peele was one of my, like, those were some of the sketches I would watch on repeat.
Yes.
It was so good. I took a class with Randy, I forget his last name, Valerio or something like. That's not me. It was somebody else. He was one of the writers for Key and Peele, and just their thought process. Because I was like, how did y'all even think of some of this stuff?
Yeah.
And he was like, they would just sit around. I want to work in a writer's room so bad. It sounds so funny where you just sit around, you just pitch dumb ideas and then eventually collects legs. So there's 6 of the craziest brains just sitting around. Like, what if we make zombies come after specific races, like a racist zombie? Like, that's hilarious. So then they can only da 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 da. And it's like, bam, bum, 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 bum.
Well, that's why like they're the number one. This first episode they did, their first sketches. I said, and so. That's perfect because as a man, we've all had that feeling where you want to talk smack about your girlfriend, whatever, and stuff, and then you can't, right? You can't. You're with your boys. You could be way far away, but you're still looking around like, I know she's gonna hear me. Like I know she's gonna hear me, you know. And it's perfect. That's like the perfect bit for me. That's one of my favorites, and I'll watch it all the time because I laugh my butt off. Like, yeah, we all know this feeling.
Oh my God, that is so fun. I think that's why that's one of my favorite sketches, because it is that relatability too, and that's what's also really good about their sketches, because even if you're not fully like understanding of like the sketch, you also, for example, the guys that kept on slapping the butts, and it was like, why? Because I've always had that thought in my head. I'm like, why do y'all do this? I don't like it. Like good job, Willie. Bad job, Willie. Come on, we'll get them next time. I'm like, who made this cool?
Yeah.
And so they made a sketch out of that where a dude had to go into like, what was it? He went to like crackhead mode because nobody would let him. Like, come on, man, just let me do it one time. And I'm like, hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
So you said Kevin Hart mode. Does that mean, are you writing stuff? Do you write screenplays? Do you write stuff like that? I mean, I know you did reality TV. You're amazing on camera, no matter what you're on. On the Zoom call, you're better on it than I am. So this is a while. But like, you know, College Hill, HGTV. What's your goal? You want to make movies? You want to be like that kind of stuff? Is that your goal?
I want to be a whole entertainment powerhouse. I have 3 TV scripts pilots that I wrote, and I'm actually meeting with a director in a little bit who wants to. There's a project that I'm doing with my friend called Danny Plum. It's called Afro Noodles, and somebody's like, "Have y'all thought to do a movie about Afro Noodles, like a new version of not Key and Peele, Harold and Kumar?" So that's like in discussion. But then there's so many things that I want to do, like even just the non-scripted side. Like there's so many just non-scripted ideas that I would love to just pitch and just talk about. Then just from there, I wanted to like I want to invest in like programs. Like I'm actually planning on like reaching out, like how we talked about HGTV was canceled, but I still got the pilot. I got footage. So now I can take that footage and bring it to like a Bank of America or even just a home loan place. I'm like, look, if you give us $500,000, we can shoot 10 of these episodes and they'll be sponsored by Bank of America, and we'll throw that up on YouTube and put like 5,000 on promotion, and now it's back into the community and it's back. So I keep having ideas like that, but then at the same time, my baby in my heart is always going to be stand up. Like I will always come. There's too many stories out there to talk about.
Yeah. So, that's the thing is like once stand up gets in your blood, once it's there, it's hard to get out, man. You want to do it. Like that's the thing is, people are like, hey, write more. You know, I have opportunities like you can write more, and I'm like, I want to do stand up more. So I feel like I'm getting pulled this way, which is why I'm like, I'm just going to embrace the Judd Apatow way of going. Like I'm going to write, I'm going to get stuff made. And then when the time's right, I'm going to come back and I'm going to hit you guys with a brick, because I'm going to be like a wrecking ball and come through and like, here's my special. I'm going to drop this bad boy on all of you. You're never going to see it coming. It's going to be amazing, because that's what Judd Apatow did. And like, my goal is to get him on this podcast one day. I don't know if I'll ever be able to, but he was like one of my biggest inspirations. Him and Kevin Smith. If I can talk to both of them, that would be my Bernie Mac moment for, you know what I'm saying. So I'd be like, oh man,
they're more accessible than you make it sound. Like they're really cool people, down to earth, and they're dorky. Like they're just some comedy nerds. At least I'm gonna speak for Judd. I don't know about Kevin, but I'm just assuming Kevin. But I know Judd enough to where it's like, if you reached out to him or his people like, hey, we're doing a podcast, just whatever. We did this many episodes. There's a chance he has some free time. He would be like, all right, yeah, I'm down to chop it up.
I don't know if I would live. I think my heart would explode if he said yes. I'm not
I'll
kidding.
be so mad. Willie, you said he was cool. I'm like, he wasn't cool. I think his heart exploded as we were talking.
I really feel like if Judd Apatow even said the words "hi" to me, "Hey James," my heart would probably explode because he's that big of a deal to me. Like I literally read his books, I've read all the stuff, I watched all his movies, I've read all his screenplays. Like literally, he to me, he's like a big brother. And so like,
did you take his master class?
Yeah, I did.
I did too.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like I know him, but I feel like my heart would explode. It would just be one of those things where, and the same thing with Kevin Smith. I wanted to meet him forever. He's been my inspiration since I was in high school. I wrote my first screenplay in high school based on Inherit the Wind. You know that
I know. I heard of it. I haven't seen
it. Inherit the Wind's a play about the Scopes monkey trial, about where they sued about teacher teaching creationism versus like the Bible or whatever, and Darwinism, all that stuff. And so I wrote this like Blues Brother version of the entry scene. Because we had to film one for class, and so it's like the Blues Brothers and meets Inherit the Wind, and that was my first script. And I bought a copy of Clerks, the book, like as a screenplay, and used that to write it. And then my second script I wrote was like Can't Hardly Wait meets Mallrats, where it's basically like a guy trying to date a girl, but all these like uncomfortable situations and silly moments that happen and stuff like that. I still have it somewhere. I typed it on a typewriter because I was too poor for a computer. But I legitimately had to learn formatting from like the book, like Pulp Fiction book and Clerks, the screenplay book, and format it and write it. So I have it somewhere. I can't find it, but yeah, that was my first screen. Thanks to Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino. So, and they're terrible, by the way. They're like both terrible.
I wanted to do a podcast where we go through some of our old stuff and just. How will we say these jokes now? How will we rewrite this script now? What will we do differently now after 13, 15 years of doing this?
That's genius.
My old clip, my first stand-up show was at this. Have you been in LA a while?
Yeah. I've been here since 2014, 15, something like that.
Okay. I've been
maybe since that 12. Yeah. I haven't been there. I haven't been here that long. Not since 2004.
BB King had a club here at Universal Studios.
I do remember that.
And that was the first place that I performed, because then they changed it to like John Lovett's. It was John Lovett's for a little while. Before that was BB King's. And I looked at that set, man, I was cringing. I was like, what were you doing? Why did they give you stage time, Willie? Oh. And I remember at that performance, Sam Cassell was there, the basketball player. And he was a big deal to me. He wasn't Jordan, but it was like, oh, Sam Cassell. But Sam knew me from College Hill. And so to have such an awful set, and I'm like, man, if I could see Sam again and he see me now, I would love to just be like, whatever. I was like, but yeah, I would love to just sit down and go through my old set and just be like, all right, here's a writing session I would do with Willie 13 years ago.
Well, do you know how I got started, right? I was about to turn 35 and I decided I wanted to get stand-up on my bucket list. Like, I should just do stand-up and try it. And so I prepared for 9 months of writing and doing open mics before I did a half-hour set for my 35th birthday with headliner Preacher Lawson as my headliner for I know. You're like, you're insane. You're an insane person. I get it. 15 of that 30 minutes was good. The rest of it was total garbage.
Yeah.
Like 100% garbage. Like not even savable.
How long ago was this? Was this a while ago?
That was like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there.
Yeah. We've come a long way.
I know. Well, what's funny is I had met Preacher outside Flappers. Like he was like roasting some girl, and then I was roasting him about. I said, man, could you sound any more like Eddie Murphy right now? Like, cause he like, you know how he sounds. And so we were dying. We were just we started roasting each other. It was fun. And then we introduced ourselves and whatever, and became friendly at that point. And so I even said to him, I said, man, someday everyone's going to know your name. You're the funniest dude. Everyone's gonna know your name. You're amazing. You're gonna kill. He's like, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Little did I know, I was correct. I should be a manager or something of like comedians because I can spot talent and be like, that person has everything that you need. You just need to give them the push in the right direction,
Woo!
and then it'll be over for them. Then they're going. He's gonna be Kevin Hart one day. I guarantee it. He will.
Yeah.
Be there.
When I was AGT reached out to me, and my style is very kind of slow paced. I'm like story da da da. And they's like, we love your jokes, Willie. You're very funny, man. We want you on here. Obviously, you got to come up with a better word than lesbian about your baby mama or whatever. So I figured it out. I was like, all right, I'll say instead of saying I have a lesbian baby mama, I'll say, oh, me and my baby mama both look handsome at prom, and they'll give everybody an idea of like what kind of whatever, blah blah. And so they're like, cool, we like it. Can you be more like Preacher Lawson though?
Yeah.
I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, can you? I was like, no, thank you. I'm like, I can't. That's not my style. That's a workout to do, to have that much energy and running around. And I'm like, oh, you think you about to get a heart attack if you
I know he has so much energy, but yeah, that's the thing is not everybody's like that, and they need to mix it up. And that's the problem with, no offense, sorry, with white producers and white people running shows, is they don't understand. They don't understand that everything is different. They go, we want more of that guy. We want more of that. That's why one of the best Key and Peele sketches is the slave auction sketch.
Oh my goodness.
Because that always, I hate to say it, but it always makes me think of how they try to do that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Funny.
That sketch is amazing. Because it highlights the audacity of people to behave like that. Like, you should be more like him. It's like, we're all unique. You can't just say, because of the color of my skin or because of what, where I come from, that's how I should behave. That's not how that works. And when people do that, that's what makes some of the best comedians. Like, listen, Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart are both funny. They're not the same kind of funny at all. That's why the kings of comedy, everyone has one that they love more than the other, right? I'm a Bernie Mac guy. I think you're a Bernie Mac guy too. Yeah. But Steve Harvey was funny, and D.L. Hughley was funny, and they're all funny, but it's like, sorry, Cedric the Entertainer is amazing. Also, he stole my idea. No offense, Cedric, but you stole my idea because I wanted a marching band in my special, but you did it before me, so now I can't do it. Sorry. Shouldn't get mad about that.
Oh, he's allowed to do that. A marching band. Oh, that would be funny if you did that, man.
But he already did it. I can't do it now. Like, he did a great marching band at the beginning of one of his recent specials, and I was like, Cedric the Entertainer, how dare you? And I'm like, well, I can't be mad at him. He's way better than me. Like, I can't be mad at him for doing that. But I literally said it like a few months before that got filmed and shot out or whatever. I was like, if I get like a big special, HBO, whatever, something like that, like Chris Rock did, who's one of my favorites of all time, I'm going to do a marching band to come in. Like, I'm going to, dance down the aisle. We're going to do a marching band. It's going to be awesome. They're going to play song, do a thing. I'm going to get on stage. Then I'm going to do my set. And then sure enough, like 6 months later, Cedric's thing comes out. Boom, marching band. I was like, I can't even do this now. This is, it's going to seem, everyone's going to think I copied Cedric the Entertainer. That's not fair,
Now, have you come up with what you will replace it with? If you're looking for a SoundCloud,
I have a good friend of mine who just had his songs are in the movie The Bad Guys, that like animated movie. So he's a good friend of mine, and he said I could use his music, and so I would like him to come open and sing for the special, and then do like do one song of his for the opening, and then the closing song is another one of his songs, and do those together. So I kind of have that highlighted or whatever, but I still need to go do Dry Bar and all those other things to get to that point. But I would love to do HBO. I think you would do great at HBO special like Chris Rock did. Like that, for me, Chris Rock specials are probably some of the best specials of, at least to me, of all time. I go back and watch them pretty often. Kill the Messenger, Bigger and Blacker, like all that. I will watch all of them and go, man. And now I feel like Chris Rock couldn't say 90% of the stuff. We talked about that. You can't say some things now.
Yeah, I was listening. I listened to, I play Sinbad Radio. No, Sinbad Radio is something that I listen to on Pandora, and then D.L. Hughley Radio. And so when I'm listening to those, some of old Chris Rock stuff will play on there. I'm like, like first album Chris Rock, and some of the stuff is still relevant and
so relevant,
still as funny as it was. I'm like, man, to be able to come up with something that can last decades and still be relevant and still be understood is also a big goal.
Yeah. My favorite of his is his daddy joke where he's like, nobody says, thanks for keeping the lights on, daddy. Like he does all that. Like, daddy gets the big pork chop. That's all, But I love that bit because I know, like, I have 2 daughters and I realize sometimes they're always like, thanks, mom. Thanks, mom. I'm like, where's my thing? Thanks for knocking out the light bill. Like it doesn't have it. I'm like, mama. Nobody gives about daddy. Like I do. That's one of my favorite bits. And I do it on my wife. I'm like, get out of here with that. Because
I get it. Yeah.
So what are you up to? What is your dream goal? What would you like to do? Where can people find you? All that kind of stuff. I want the Willie Macc sell right now for everyone.
So me, the triplets, and my boy Danny did a show called The Floor is Lava on Netflix, season 2, episode 1. And
that's right. And it was awesome.
And this fall, we're going on tour together on a tour called The Tour is Lava. So all 3 of us, so we've got dates lined up from like Memphis, Kentucky, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Minneapolis, Phoenix, Texas. I forget what part. I don't have the full information in front of me, but if you look at the social media, we're gonna put together the entire lineup. So we're doing a lot of stand up. My agent is always hitting me up asking me for non-scripted show ideas. So I have a couple non-scripted show ideas that fingers crossed will end up getting produced and made. And if not, we go back to the drawing board. That's something that a lot of people have to understand. Like people see the Verizon commercial or they'll see some of the other stuff that I've done. But I also want people to know, like that's my 100th audition.
Yeah.
My 100th audition. Last year was a very cold year for me. But then it's like boom, and it's like woo. So now it's like I'm all about milking it. So when I knew my commercial was running more, I started going out more. I started making sure I hit the comedy scene a little bit more. So that way people are like, oh, Willie, seeing you on. I'm also doing a show. You want to come through? It's because we're such an out of sight, out of mind industry, and there's hundreds of comics. So you now kind of have to weed your way. How do you find your way out of the hundreds of comics to make yourself stand out to be that go-to guy? Also, luckily for me, I was blessed to have the HGTV show, which also stands me out. So me and my brother came out with a children's book that's coming out November 1st, The Adventures of Dylan and Perry. We have 3 commercial properties that we have now and that we're developing. So I am really focused on a lot of that because eventually what I would like to do within like at least another year, maybe 2 years, I would like to help a lot of, especially comedians, but entertainers take their money that they make and help them invest it because that's another thing we're not taught. We're not taught business, and now here's a $300,000 check. What you gonna do? A lot of people be like, oh, I'm gonna put it in the bank. I ain't touching it. I'm just saving. It's gonna last me until da 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 da. I'm like, or you could buy, you keep this much, use this much to buy this, and now that can last this long.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I was listening to some people that was like, a lot of people retire with $500,000 in the bank. They'll be 64. They save up $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. But then within like 10, 15 years, that's all gone. I'm like, you had $600,000 and it's now just fully depleted. And it's like, if you would have bought 3, let's say apartment buildings, then that's a $4,000 a month that will come in for maybe the rest of your life. Yeah. So those are things that I'm kind of working on, and everything that I'm saying you can find on my social medias. It's on Willie Macc, everything MACC 2 C's. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at.
That's awesome. And I know you have a production company too, right? So do you you produce all this stuff? So that might be another income stream there is partnering with people and making stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait. I want to, before you guys go on tour, hit me up so we could get you guys back all on and have a thing so we could push that tour so we can get that going. 'Cause everyone needs to see you guys. It's hilarious. And if you haven't watched The Floor's Lobby, you haven't watched that first episode where they go up against the Verzi triplets, that's some of the best roasting I've seen on TV in a long time. Like, they're going hard at each other. It was awesome. This is one of my favorite things. And I know it's all love because, I mean, we all know each other. It's all love there. That's what comedians do. If a comedian doesn't give you a hard time about something, they probably don't like you. Like, that's just honest.
Facts. Yes. And that's exactly how our dynamic is with the triplets. Like,
yeah. And that's comedians. Like, if you meet a comedian and you're also a comedian and they don't say anything kind of snarky to you when you say something silly or stupid, they're probably just ignoring you. They probably don't want anything to do with you. Yeah. It's sad. I mean, even Adam Conover, I met him at Flappers, and he roasted me a little bit within a few minutes of us talking or whatever, and I was like, okay, all right.
All right, we cool now.
We're cool. All right, I get it. Yeah.
It's like
he's not. Yeah. I know. I've had comedians at open mics go, man, that guy, he made fun of me. That he's trying to be your friend, man. He wants to be your friend. That's not how I make friends. Well, then you're in the wrong place, man. You're in the wrong place.
I knew that. I was talking about this comedian. I was at an open mic, and this comedian went up, and he did awful. And I went up there, and I just roasted him, man. And I was like, God, why'd y'all even clap for him? You know, whatever. But I was saying it in love.
Yeah.
Like, me and him, he's still kind of like, he's still really bad, but we're like friends now. And I still make fun of him every time I see him. And that's like part of our dynamic. And even with Paul, you, like anybody, that's just how we talk.
Yeah, well, it's like because we're all like brothers. We're like in this fraternity of brothers, and you know we're going through the same thing. It's I was in the military. I can tell you right now, the comedy world, the stand-up world is very much like the military world. You're all brothers. You're stuck together. You're dealing with the same stuff, the same kind of people, and so you're gonna make jokes at each other. You're gonna make dark jokes. You're gonna make jokes that nobody else should ever hear you guys make. Like, you only make them to each other. If you made that joke on stage, someone will drag you out on the street and beat you. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we do it to each other, and also the things that you say to each other, people will go, "You can't say that to another person. You're not allowed to say that." And like, we do, and we do. I mean, literally, Darren Carter roasted me about looking like Clay Aiken one time. It was terrible. It was like 5 minutes of this, and I was just like, I don't even know. I have no comeback. This is terrible. I can't. I want to say something back to him, but I can't. I was dying, and I had no comeback, and everyone's just looking at me like, your turn. And I'm like, this is not gonna work. So yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny because that's exactly how the best way to describe me, and especially the triplets relationship.
Yes.
Like, if there was a fly on the wall that heard the stuff that how we go back and forth, that fly would just drop dead, right?
That's the best part about being the comedian, man, is like we can say things to each other that no one else in the world could get away with, and we can make fun of things that nobody should make fun of, or that the world says you can't make fun of that. Like, no, we're gonna make fun of it. That's what we're
so gonna make fun of it.
Yeah. So Willie, is it williemac.com? Is that the best website for them to find all your stuff, links and everything like that?
I'm not as active on my williemac.com like I should be updated.
I know. Your dates are from like 2019 on there, bro. You got to fix that. I'm not kidding. I would have looked.
I know.
I was like, what is this guy doing? Come on.
I know. Someone just bought a shirt on my website, and I was like, I forgot that I was even selling shirts on their website.
I was about to ask you about that.
So the best way to get in touch with me, or just what I'm up to, is Instagram. That's where I post most of my stuff. I'm the most active on Instagram. But yeah, it's Willie Macc, WILLIEMACC, and I will change the dates to 2019. That's so funny. It is that old.
It is that old. And can they reach out to you on Instagram to buy a shirt, or they should?
Just tell me you want a shirt, and I got you.
Willie's just gonna take the one off of that he's wearing right now and send it over to you. It'll smell like Willie. Whatever Willie's wearing right now, that's what it's gonna smell like.
I'll make sure it's one of the shirts that I wear at the beginning of the day, not the end of the day.
Hey, some people like that. Some people like the end of the day smell.
When I saw that chick that sold her parts for like $300,000 last year, I'm like, that's some weird people out there, man. Hey, whatever.
Whatever gets. You do you. That's I mean. Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Willie, for being on. Go check out Willie. I'll put all his links in the show notes below. Please like, subscribe, go follow him on Instagram. He's got great stuff there, so you're gonna love that. Thank you all, and have a good one. Bye.